Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
We're going back to back. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Rivas, and who are you, sir?
I'm your producer, Matt Duncan. How are you doing, Fred?
I'm doing wonderful. The Raptors just completed a 4-1 Western Conference road trip.
So they did go 4-1. I was wrong.
Me too. You know, I think I also said 3-2. We're just trying to be reasonable here, Matt, but the Raptors they're too wonderful.
Crushing it on the West Coast trip.
Again, it's just, it's wild. So first of all, thanks for everyone who listens to this podcast. Rate, review, subscribe. If you want to find us or tell people how to find us, where are some of the many, different places people can find us on the internet, Matt?
You can start with, the top of the mountain, the cherry on top. iTunes is probably the best one to do if you want to get us some ratings and move us up them charts. But if you're an Android person, we got no beef with Stitcher or Spotify. And if you've got like a Windows 95 kind of phone, Player FM would be great. So there's, and then we've got all the social media fun of Instagram and Facebook. Check us out.
We're doing it all, right?
Yeah, we've got all kinds of lines open.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said we got all kinds of lines open.
You're damn right. And if people, if they want to go above and beyond, if they want to say, hey, let's support these people in what they're doing, how might they do that?
Well, you could always go to our Patreon at patreon.com/dunkspodcast, and you can choose one of the tiers and support us there. Help us generate a little money so we can sprinkle it on the podcast and, make a nice glittery time for you.
I like that. I like that a lot. And last but not least, sure, the weather's warming up and people are wondering, how many sleeps till July and the scarves come out. But until then, what should people do if they want a non-itchy head?
Well, you got to get a Confederacy of Dunks toque. I don't know how many you've got left over there, but, I'm sure, we don't have a ton. So you want to get them now so you're prepared for next winter. Okay? $20 a head top.
Or, you're sitting in Trinity Bellwoods, it's a tad bit cold. You still want to wear a t-shirt, put on a toque,
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, especially in the city, they love wearing toques well into the summer.
That's right. Okay, let's get going on this, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's bring on guest number one and get talking raps. He works on the That's a Rap podcast. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Make sure you check it out. Every Raptor fan should be consuming all Raptors content, especially when we're constantly slighted, in U.S. media and that sort of thing. So give it up at home as loud as you can for Jason Leung.
This.
Yeah, how's that for you, Jason?
God damn. So I was listening up to your previous episode, and I didn't know that you guys would have introduction music for like all guests and like different introduction music. Because the last one you had some sort of like Donkey Kong underwater music going on, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna vibe to that. But then this is pretty dope too. Thank you so much for that. God damn. No problem. Yeah, man, this is I'm Jason. I'm a co-host of That's a Rap and a producer of That's a Rap. We talk about Raptors and all things NBA as much as we can because, we're just fans. We're just, Raptor fans doing a podcast for Raptor fans. So I love it. And thanks so much for having me on your show, bro.
Dude, it's amazing to have you. Like, that's exactly what this podcast is. And I'll let Matt tell you a little something like, there's a bit something more special about your music. It's Matt, I'll let you take it away.
It's like it's your theme song. Every time you come back on, it'll be remembered. So
that's actually your song for life.
Oh,
I think
song
I
for
built it up
life.
too much, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I like it. I mean, if I wasn't married or ready, I'd probably use it as my walk-up song. So.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. I probably built up the music a bit too much.
Yeah.
And they're usually weird, like 8-bit tracks.
Yeah.
So I was kind of vibing out to this more than usual. So
Well, Paul's is a bit, a little different. A little different genre.
little different genre, yeah. Okay, let's bring on guest number 2. He's fresh off a veggie chili. I'm not sure if he made it. I'm not sure if he picked it up at 7-Eleven. I'm not sure if it's like, high-level cuisine style veggie chili. But he's a hardcore basketball fan. He runs a Terrence Malick podcast called Talking About Terry or Talking to Terry. I'm not sure if it's, he'll elaborate a little bit. Give it up at home for Paul Beer.
Oh boy. This is nice. It's kind of a ska flavor.
Oh, you nailed it.
Paul,
I'm skanking here in my
thanks,
my
Rick.
basement bunker.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us for the very special Bedouin Sound Clash episode. You can catch them at every single frosh in Ontario for the rest of their lives. But
Forever.
Paul,
To answer your question, I did make the chili. I did not get it from 7-Eleven, and I would not call it. How did you describe it? High.
I was
cuisine
alluding to like designer chili.
No, man, this is straight ahead. This is straight ahead. It had a meat substitute, like a Beyond Meat kind of stuff in there. Yeah, and the podcast is called Talkin' Terry. The Terrence Malick podcast. So
Thank you
it's been dark for about 3 weeks now.
In terms of subject matter, or you just haven't had any episodes?
No, I just haven't done it in 3 weeks. But
I thought you were going through like a dark part of his career, like.
No, but I'm gonna be coming back soon. So yeah. Keep your ears peeled. Is that that's not the expression?
That's what Terry would like. So good choice on your wording there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk Raps. There's so much going on. Maddie, would you give me that Raptors sting? Come for the Terrence Malick banter. Stay for the very straightforward audio clips. Cool. Let's get going here, Jason. I'll start with you. And please ask for clarification if my question is weird and confusing, because when I read it back, I didn't even understand it. Norm getting injured after being Player of the Week just seems like a perfect microcosm of something that would happen this season. So is there any other examples you could think of like, something not necessarily the exact same, like an injury, but just kind of a similar vibe? Like, what's another example of the ethos of this season, like a microcosm?
Sure. I mean, when I was looking at this question, I was like, what the hell is he talking about? But then I was like, okay. So I'm thinking about something that kind of encumbersomes the season. And I was thinking, injuries aside, I think like the Lowry All-Star appearance in Chicago can be seen as like a microcosm of the season. So let me explain. Think of it this way.
Great.
The Raptors have been in the playoffs for about 6 years, the past 6 years, now 7 years. Lowry has been in an All-Star game the past 6 years, right? So each time the Raptors have been in the playoffs, except for last year, they have quote unquote flamed out, right? And then each time Lowry is in the All-Star game, he doesn't really make a big impact. But then this year comes around, the Raptors are reigning champions, and the media and all the talking heads still not giving them credit. And then Lowry played a vital role in the making of the All-Star game, making it very exciting, playing hard, playing defense, and people are still not giving him credit. So this might be a stretch, but I think that the way Lowry played in the fourth quarter of the All-Star game, taking charge in, making a difference, basically made the fans kind of hate seeing charges in the All-Star game. But to complain about the All-Star game not being competitive because there's no defense, and like you have to like pick and choose. And then on the Raptors case, they have been such a great team prior to their championship run, and now they lose Kawhi and they're not a playoff contender. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of comparison of this season, I think, is when Lowry was in the All-Star game. What do you guys think?
I think that's a perfect answer for something that kind of, encapsulates the spirit of this team. Like, of course, Lowry is the most competitive guy in the most competitive game, in the most competitive All-Star game we've seen in a long time. Like, obviously, LeBron and other guys were competing hard. But Lowry goes out there, takes a charge on Kawhi, draws a foul on Harden, and almost takes a charge on LeBron. And that, those Anthony Davis free throws to seal it that everyone was talking about, that's because Lowry yanked him to the ground. Like, so I think Lowry at the All-Star game is exactly the type of answer I was looking for. So, and honestly, just a genuine thank you for reading through my ADD-filled answer because you nailed it. But Paul,
if you put so much effort into making these questions, I got to put effort into answering them, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's only fair. Paul, I feel like I've set you up for failure, or do you have an answer that's as good as Jason's?
I don't know if it's as good as Jason's, but I'm going to point to last night when Nick Nurse, the head coach of the defending world champion Toronto Raptors, was asked for his ticket in Utah.
Oh my
was
God.
asked by security a redux of the whole prolonged Masai Ujiri confrontation with security that happened last year. He was asked for his ticket. Like he was asked to produce a ticket by the security in Salt Lake City. I mean, that is a microcosm of this. Not only the Raptors as a whole being counted out or disrespected or not recognized, but specifically Nick Nurse not being recognized as the best coach in the NBA.
Man, you guys are bringing some thoughtful, like, big time answers. So I appreciate it. My answer to my own question was like I think the best things I can think of were the game where we beat Brooklyn, where we kind of just like refused to lose, and that also involved Kyle. He was kind of picking a fight with Jared Allen, and Kyle just went off and took some key charges, hit some big threes, was just defiant in the face of not getting respect, and defiant in the face of losing. And then the other example I was gonna put forth, but it's a bit weaker than the others. It's just that. I might be wrong here, and please correct me if I am, but I think every single member of the squad, or meaningful member of the squad, participated in our 15-game win streak. If I'm not mistaken, people were injured at different times, but everyone at least played significant minutes or a game or two. I think probably Gasol played the least, but oh wait, I might be getting my timelines mixed up, but. Yeah, that to me was kind of just this belief when it's this kind of self-belief that's just propelling the squad in the face of others not believing you or talking about you or kind of writing you off.
Right.
Oh, 100%. I think it's whatever this answer is going to be, it's going to have to be like when you think that somebody or all of the NBA fan base besides Toronto isn't giving this team credit. And it could be, the amount of people who are being injured or Lowry or just anything that has to do with not giving this team credit. I think that's the, microcosm of this answer.
Yeah.
Honestly, the image of players in civvies high-fiving their teammates after a win could be a microcosm of this season so far, which is
That's hilarious.
I feel like every single game there's the final image of either Gasol or Freddie or whoever on the bench hopping up to high five the winning the team coming off a win. I mean that feels like the image that is sort of indicative of this season.
And kind of what propelled this question is just seeing Norm get injured again after playing yet again the best basketball of his career. It's like this guy seems to get injured and then re-up, and then get injured and then re-up. Yeah. He really is. Yeah, it's just a shame where we don't get to see him play 40 games, 35 games straight. But just kind of moving on here, because this is also a fun question. And it might seem a bit ridiculous, and maybe it is, but I don't know. I feel like it's not. Let's start with you, Paul. Is Serge Ibaka, I think I wrote underestimated, but underestimated, underrated. Is Serge Ibaka the most underrated player in the NBA?
I mean, this is bias, Toronto bias.
Right, yeah.
But I would say he's certainly up there. I mean, if you watched him on this road trip, he's been really playing with that kind of fire and that kind of on both ends, that kind of intensity. I'm trying to think of somebody else who's been as counted out as that.
Right. And it's a narrative based question, so I totally get it. And just Jason, while you're waiting to answer, sorry, one sec, Paul. I was just gonna list off here, just so you can kind of put it in your head, how people perceive Ibaka versus how he's doing. And this is just a cursory basketball reference, but on the year, per game, Serge is averaging 16 points, 8.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.1 steals. Sorry. I think I was reading the wrong guy. Sorry about that. Yeah. So sorry. Serge's 1.5 assists, 0.5 steals, and almost a block a game on really good percentages. And he's almost shooting 40% from three. And I'm not even really talking about his defense, which is obviously still good. So I'm just throwing that out there. And yeah, are there people? And Paul, sorry, I feel like I cut you off, so I'll go back to you. But yeah, is there anyone who's coming to mind where you're like, well, this guy?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I would say up until like maybe a week or two ago, the names that I would think of are people like LeBron James or Russell Westbrook, in terms of people who people were not paying attention. I mean, LeBron is always a threat, but Ibaka has been in this injury-plagued season, has been such a rock. And again, this road trip I was dreading, honestly, to be honest with you. And he's done so well and stood up when needed. So yeah, I've been blown away.
Totally. And the story of Ibaka's career, I feel like people really wanted to write the denouement years before it ever happened, because he kind of just keeps developing and he keeps morphing. And I'm not really sure if it's part of his, part of that kind of like slander that comes around with African players in regards to their age, or really when it started with Ibaka. But he's been a little bit undervalued for the majority of his career, and he's kind of continued to grow. And yeah, just for me, he's a guy you have to game plan for in the playoffs, and I don't hear anyone talk about him ever. And he's going to be a key factor deep into the playoffs this year. He was a key factor, obviously, last year deep into the playoffs. I have a couple players that kind of I wrote down just for the sake of this question. But Jason, I'll jump to you. Is Serge underrated? Are there players who you think are still more underrated, don't get enough love compared to what they do?
I think he's definitely up there. I don't think he's the most underrated player, but I mean, honestly, like bias aside, I feel like if there's anybody who's more underrated or underestimated than Serge Ibaka from the Toronto Raptors, is probably Kyle Lowry in the NBA sphere. So like again, the scouting report for the Raptors is usually consists of two players. It's either Siakam or Lowry. But I think like as the Alex Caruso, maybe the Lakers' secret weapon for them, the Raptors have like a plethora of secret weapons, and Serge is one of them. So like you said, his 3-point shot, for example, last year he attempted 2.3 threes a game, made 29%. This year he's attempting 3.3 and making under 40%. So the patience he has around the rim as well as improved from the eye test each time he catches the ball in the paint. He doesn't rush anymore. Like he picks and chooses, waits for the defender to jump in the air before he shoots. Like I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago or maybe last year when he gets the ball into the paint and then he just rushes. And he has his like hands were like rocks, almost like Biyombo like. But now he's like really steady, and when he dribbles the ball, it's okay. And his rebounding too is really taking a step up. He's having one of his best years in rebounding, which is 8.3 rebounds a game. His career high was in OKC 2013-2014 with 8.8. So Serge is low-key one of the biggest contributors to this team, and if he's not the most underrated or underappreciated person in this team, at least this man's going to get paid.
Oh, man, totally. He definitely has done a good job of turning that, Serge is overpaid on his current contract to, wait a second, this guy's not done, and he's getting more money. I wrote down a couple players just for kind of like a thought exercise, and I thought, who is a very important part of their team, doesn't get much of a look for all-star, is a guy that just narratively doesn't do a lot to move the needle, but is huge for their team. And the first guy I thought of was Brook Lopez, because he's such a fantastic defender, and he kind of unlocks that Milwaukee system. Yet at the same time, he'll never be mentioned in conversations of very, very impactful players. Like, you'll have people talking about how Patrick Beverley's a more important defender or something like that. And I think he's one of those guys that is just really able to unlock what that team is even trying to do. And then
he played really well against the Raptors last year too.
Oh yeah,
he was like a real sticking point against the Raptors last year.
For sure, as much as people kind of, and rightfully so, enjoy kind of dancing on the Bucks losing, it was definitely a specific combination we needed to unlock to slow down what they were doing, and they've gotten even better at it, and teams are having a even tougher time with it. But yeah, and the other player I thought of just because of injury, and I think he's kind of quietly starting to play very well again, is Kristaps Porzingis. I'm not sure how well he's going to do in the playoffs, and I think he started slow, so people thought maybe he was done. But he seems, obviously he's not on Luka's level, but I think he's in kind of a better situation than he was in New York, where he can be a number two and have a lot of the pressure.
I mean, anything is better than New York.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Things weren't going to get better for him in New York, obviously, but
yeah.
But yeah, he's a player I think at this point maybe it's a bit underrated, but that's kind of why I just started thinking about how Serge is valued in the league. He's not an all-star, and he's just not someone that people talk about.
How much do you think he's going to get paid next season, though?
So I'll answer what does Serge get paid next season? I think that there's a big difference between if he gets paid by the Raptors or another team. I think if he gets paid by the Raptors, he is going to have I think Masai will treat him well and give him a contract that has a really first big year. Like it's like a 2 or 3 year contract where he gets 20 in the first year and 15 for the consecutive 2 years or something like that. So
right now he's getting $23 million for this year. I'm wondering if it's going to be more by the way he's been playing.
It's tough. I would say less, just because of where the big man position is at and his age and that, and people kind of like not really planning their team around bigs. So I don't know if how much of a bidding war there would be for Serge, but again, I think it depends on the playoffs and how he does and that sort of thing. And sorry, Paul, I'll let you answer this question too.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like he's, I don't really have any kind of firm sense of this, but I feel like he's respected by other players in the league. Is that safe to say? I mean, like he's, are you asking specifically how much he's going to get paid? Because
just taking a wild guess. Yeah.
Well, I think that it would be roughly what he's making now. Plus, I think when guys get to this point, they're looking for like years on that contract.
Right.
So it would
He's looking
be
for
like
that Andre Iguodala.
Right. You might take a little bit less.
Yeah.
But with a promise of years. So yeah, maybe like a 2 or 3 year contract coming out of this, because he's playing so well, and I just as you said, I get the sense that Masai would be looking to look after him not look after him, that sounds patronizing, but to reward him a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Paul, let's stick with you. So this is just kind of like a fun exercise. Considering the Raptors are going back to the finals and winning another championship.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah, we know this. Others might not. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And what are the 4 teams you would like us to face, whether that's for, narrative reasons or, just for easy, probability of winning sake. And let's keep it like within the realm of possible, I'll say.
All right, I'll try. So I think that right now, do they have Orlando as their?
You're basically looking at Orlando and Brooklyn as the first round matchup,
right? Yeah,
likely.
So I would take Orlando only because so far the Raptors have done really well against Orlando in the season series. The wins, I think they lost once to Brooklyn, and even though Brooklyn is in complete disarray at the moment.
Oh yeah.
I would still take Orlando in that first round. Speaking of disarray, I would take Boston in that second round, because I feel like the bottom is kind of falling out of, like, I don't know what's going on there, but I feel like the bottom is kind of falling out of there. I mean, I don't really see a path out of the East without going through Milwaukee, but it would be a delight if we ended up facing Indiana, considering that we
sure
beat them by 46 points at earlier. And then the finals. I don't really see a path out of the West that doesn't go through the Lakers. However, I would say I would like to see a Raptors Clippers final being played in front of in empty arenas, which is what I think is going to happen.
Right. Yeah. A little coronavirus foreshadowing.
Yeah. Exactly. They're going to play it on a. They're going to play it on a barge in the middle of the ocean somewhere. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
But it will still happen, and the Raptors will still win, right? So
yeah. I think it would be such a delight to see Kawhi face up against. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but to see Kawhi face his former team
I love it.
in the finals would be dramatic.
You want Kawhi, but you don't want. Wait, what? I kind of lost track of what. Oh yeah, sorry. I was going to say you want Kawhi, but you don't want to be extra tired because of Giannis. You want somehow it to be the Pacers and the Raptors just be extra healthy heading into the finals.
Yeah. Again, I do not believe that it will be the. I think that.
Hey, this is a fantasy scenario.
Is going to have to face the Bucks. But yeah, it would be a delight if, given our mutual history, if they faced Indiana, to get to the Clippers in the final.
Okay, Jason, what's your fantasy 4 teams path to the finals?
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking about playing in empty arenas, that would be not saying that would be a lot of fun, of course, because I don't want that to happen. But could you imagine like the amount of shit talk that you're going to hear like during the game?
My God.
You don't have to mic up nobody. Just people are just going to keep on jarring. That'd be amazing.
You'd hear like Herbie Kuhn coughing and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you'd hear so much like so you hear the popcorn popping and like concessions.
Or you'll constantly hear like Big Cat like, I don't know, roaring or something.
Yeah. Oh my God. You would for sure hear Jamal McGlure, and it would like they would have to like mute the broadcast. They'd be like, I don't know what
have
to
use
do.
the cup anymore. To amplify himself.
That's amazing.
Oh man. Okay, but I think the path that we're on right now is what I would like to see, to be honest, because like right now we're stated to face Brooklyn in the first round, and I think that we match up better with Brooklyn. I don't if we can stop like Karis LeVert, who's been playing like a star. I think if we can stop him and maybe like the shooting of Joe Harris, I feel like we could win that series in 5 or less. The semis, I want to see Boston for sure. I would like Toronto and Boston never met in the playoffs, and I think that's kind of long overdue. You have to have those two powerhouses. You need to see that collide, So like, you got Siakam versus Tatum, Kemba, Lowry, Serge versus Tice. There's going to be
Nurse Stevens,
OG versus Tice. Like someone's gonna go down. It's gonna be great to watch. That's entertainment. The conference, the Bucks, of course. I know that the last game the Bucks played, they didn't play any of their starters, but you kind of can see and you can tell that without Giannis, it's kind of apparent that the Bucks just don't have anything else, right? And on the Raptors, on the other hand, they have everything. They have we've never had a year where it's been a full roster, yet we're only 6 games behind first place. So, and I also don't think, this is really important, I don't think that Nurse has shown everything that he has in store for the Bucks. I feel like he has a lot of crap up his sleeve, saving it for this specific matchup. The last time they played and the next 2 times we're playing the Bucks, it's not going to be the same if and when we face the Bucks in the playoffs. There's something there. And for the finals, we've never beaten LeBron. Let's beat the hell out of LeBron and get that ring again. And obviously the NBA needs the Lakers to be successful, and who's going to stop them? It's going to be the team from Canada. That's what's
I love it. Okay, so here's there's a lot of similar themes. I'm sure you guys will notice. Okay, so for me, I think Orlando and Brooklyn, the reality of those series is that the way the Raptors are playing, we're going to embarrass whoever we play. 100%. And I think I would like to embarrass Brooklyn more. So that's where I land on that one. So, I would like Brooklyn to have a whole summer where everyone's just, all the players that are there, or they're just a bit angry at Kyrie and KD. I just want to scorch earth a bit here. So
it's happening.
You know what I mean? But where's Orlando?
As we speak.
I think we'd beat the crap out of Orlando, but I like Fultz. I don't mind their team. I want them to be a bit better. And honestly, I wouldn't mind Gordon having to guard Giannis for a series. I just think he's athletic, and they could maybe. Actually, I'm going to stop that sentence before I finish it. Milwaukee would crush Milwaukee, Milwaukee would crush Orlando. But so for number 2, I'm not going to say everything Jason said, but I'm almost the exact same. I want that series for a million reasons. The Boston media, the Ringer, I want all of it. And I want to beat the crap out of them. That would be pretty close to a championship.
That smoke, man.
Oh man, when Tatum got blocked by Kawhi and Danny, I was basically, I almost passed out.
Oh yeah,
I almost passed out. Okay, so and then here's my wrinkle. So for round 3 conference finals, I hope that the Sixers pass the Pacers. And sorry, I kind of messed that up. I hope the Sixers. Yeah, sorry. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I hope the Sixers pass the Pacers, or whichever thing puts them into the 4-5 bracket, and then I hope that that everything happens for the Sixers. The process comes to life. They've finally done it. all the, Simmons haters and Embiid haters, it's all like, oh my God, they actually did it. Brown's amazing. He unlocked them. They beat Giannis. Giannis already starts to say weird things about coming to Toronto. That starts. And then we destroy Philly, and then they basically decide that they're going to blow it up too. So we've become a lot like LeBron, and we're just ending franchises all over the place. And finally, we get the Lakers. But before we play the Lakers, LeBron has beaten Kawhi. So there's no weird but they couldn't beat Kawhi type thing. And we go up against the best team, and we beat them. And we beat the best player, and there's a bunch of reverse LeBronto memes, and I go to sleep and die a happy man. That's basically.
So you die at the end.
Yeah,
of this
in my scenario, I die. I don't know,
This is the
guys,
end of
I'm
your
so
life.
sorry. Yeah, in my scenario, that is it for me.
Okay, can I ask something in kind of a mystical, larger picture thing here?
Please
Do you
get me
think that? Okay, do you think that the death of Kobe Bryant is truly motivating LeBron in the way that he said in his Instagram obituary, that he's like, I'm gonna, because it certainly seems like it. It certainly seems like it's happening, and that he is. I mean, this guy needs no further motivation, but it certainly seems like, are we going to look back on this season and it's like, oh, it's inevitable. This was the season that LeBron carried the Lakers to a championship.
I think if it happens, yes, it will be, it will feel as inevitable as I think a lot of people felt like when Kawhi came to Toronto, and it was kind of like, it was written type of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think if they lose, then it will very much be like, oh yeah, right. It's real life, and it kind of depends how much you believe in things. But to answer the other kind of question, how much is this motivating LeBron? I would say a ton. I would say it's motivating a lot of players in the league, and I would say it's motivating the Laker franchise, and even it's probably motivating other LA guys, right? So I think a lot of people are motivated for different reasons, and some of those people are Raptors, because I think there was some Kobe connections there as well. But Jason, I'll let you answer that question before we move on to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I was talking to my wife about this, and it's like, do we really want the Raptors to? Obviously, we want the Raptors to win, but I'm just saying, like, there is going to always be that heavy heart when it comes to this year's NBA. And I don't know about you guys, but like this year has been not only entertaining, which it has been, but it has been kind of like it's been emotional, like with, of course, RIP Lakers, and what's going on in the beginning of the year with China, and what's going on with coronavirus now. It's like, it's a lot. So much has been going on that being a fan is hard, and but at the same time, it's good that we all can kind of come together too and still talk about it and still kind of share our feelings about it. But like, I feel like when it comes to like the finals and everything, of course, I want the Raptors to win. But yes, I do agree that there is going to be a narrative that, agree or disagree with it, but it might be of like, the emotions of it kind of took over, which I hope it doesn't. But, we'll see. I think cooler heads will prevail. Again, let's hope that doesn't happen. Yeah,
and lots of good points there, Jason. And I think particularly I really relate to the idea of sports in general being an escape, and kind of they're being in their own world. And I think particularly this year with the NBA, it's a mixture of the rise in popularity, the way they do business in China, and the way that related, and obviously Kobe's massive influence on the game and basketball in general, and then obviously coronavirus, China once again. So I think it's a heavy year. It's an exciting year. It's like I keep calling it the NBA Jam year, or the healthiest team wins year. But it's fun. It's a really, really good year, and it's a complex one too, I think. But
can I just say one more thing? You mentioned sports in general as being an escape from the world. As of today, we're being confronted with sports not being able itself to escape this current situation, because I think the Raptors just put out, I think today was the deadline, whether or not it was a hard deadline or not, to like put their plan out in terms of infectious disease and that kind of thing. So it's like, this is going to bump up against the escape. Like the reality is going to bump up against the escape pretty soon. And I was watching that game last night, and just looking at the people in the stands and being like, wow. And this is the first time I've ever thought this, being like, that's a lot of people sitting close to each other, and thinking like, are we going to see games? I know I was joking about it before, but are we going to see games that are going to be played in front of empty arenas in the next couple months? This is not really a question. This is more just an observation that the escape is being taken away.
They're already removed. They already played games in Europe. I think Italy without fans around, and now they've actually canceled all like EuroLeague. I'm totally speaking out of my ass, but I know that like major sports leagues have already implemented this because of that. So I mean, it's a real thing. Escaping this isn't going to be an easy thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely going to be something that we're monitoring, and I think it's going to affect basically every aspect of life on the globe, including sports. But I think it's also fair for us as people to move on and talk some more basketball and kind of deal with this existential dread in waves, right? Because it's pretty intense, and I think it's it's going to be a constantly evolving situation. And that's not to put a cap in this conversation or anything, but I just kind of want to talk about the MVP race and stuff like that. But that's just me being selfish. Okay, well, if you guys are ready to talk some NBA, Maddie, would you give me that NBA sting?
This is Adam Silver.
Confederacy of Dunks will have some genuine thoughts on the coronavirus. And then also, Matt will play his tugboat Adam Silver sound effect. So you're getting some levity here. Let's jump into this question I had about the Eastern Conference, but I'm going to add Philly to the mix, and I realize that I wrote the Bucks, which probably is not a good choice for this answer. But yeah, I think there's a couple teams right now in the East who fancy themselves playoff teams. Like I'm not really talking about the early exit squads like Orlando and Brooklyn, who, I mean, sure, there's probably some hope, but not real substantial hope. But I think if you're Indiana, Philly, or Boston, and I'm going to leave the Bucks out of this because I think that, sure, there's some reason to worry, but I mean, unless this Giannis knee thing is more substantial than the sprain it is, I think they don't need to panic or anything. They also have a round against a bad team. But yeah, so I'll go to you first, Paul. Between kind of like the Sixers, the Pacers, and the Celtics, whose fan base should be the most worried?
I think it should be Boston's. They are coming off of a really bad stretch here, and I just think that as great as Jason Tatum has been, I don't think that they are able to close out game, and they've suffered some really like psychologically damaging losses. So look, I think
that OKC game was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's some science that says this is not true, but I just think that kind of weighs on teams when they just sort of fall apart like that. And I think it's Boston. I think the Celtics are in real trouble.
It wasn't Boston for me. I think they do. I included them in this. I think they do have reason to be concerned. But I feel like, thinking long term with Boston, most of the signs are still good. If I was a Boston fan, I'd still be pretty happy about Smart, Tatum, and Brown going forward. I'd maybe start to be a bit worried about if Kemba is the right timeline for the squad. But I think there's reason for them to struggle, and the expectations are high as well. So if they perform poorly in the playoffs, it's not good. Jason, who are you thinking between the Celtics, Pacers, and Sixers?
I was going to pick Pacers before the 76ers was on the board, so I'm going to stick with the.
I'm glad I included them.
Yeah, no. So I was going to go Pacers for a number of reasons because of some of the injury lays or lulls. And then also shout out to Popeye Jones because he's one of the Raptors OGs. It's always good to see him on the bench. But I have to pick the Sixers. You have to pick the Sixers. I mean, like they got both Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, in injury protocols. You have Josh Richardson who's going through concussion protocol, and they just lost the Golden State Warriors. Let's be real here. Like, what are they looking for? This team was picked by a lot of, and myself included, that they were going to be in the runnings for winning it all. And I had them going to the finals. Yeah, exactly. To be sixth right now, fighting for like the 4, 5, 6 spot, like with Indiana and Miami, it's not a good look. Like whatever Elton Brand thought he was doing, I guess is not really working, especially with the Al Horford situation. Yeah, it's not. It's not looking good. Like, as a 76er fan, like I don't know how you guys are feeling because you've gone through the process the whole time. Like, I don't know how much you're expecting this year. I feel like you were expecting to be in the finals. It's not looking great, honestly. I don't have very much. I was very high on them, but when you lose somebody like Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick, like. I don't know about you guys, but last year when we were facing them in the playoffs, the only person that who scared me was Jimmy Butler, and now he's gone. And they don't have someone that could get a bucket for you whenever needed. So I'd definitely say the Sixers.
Yeah, I think for all the points you said, I'm also the Sixers, and I'll just add for me actually, and I think I find myself in the minority of opinions here, but the guy I was actually the most scared of was Embiid. I think Embiid has made the biggest he was the biggest shadow over that series. Obviously, he was sick, and Gasol did a great job, and Butler was the guy who could score. But, I've said this before, but early on in that series, they had to move Butler off of Kawhi. So I think it was the dual impact of Embiid that really scared me in that series. It was the potential of what he could do. And he never quite put it together. But for me, the airplane moment was basically the scariest, most insecure moment I had as a fan that entire playoff run. Because that was the only time I felt, oh shit, is this team like tougher than us? With the Bucks, I even though it was like we were really down, I just kept feeling like there was a way to break through. With the Sixers, I genuinely didn't know. Like that seventh game, the whole game, I was kind of like, this could go either way. But yeah, just kind of jumping on your points there, Jason. I think that because of the process, obviously they've had 2 GMs since and that sort of thing. But with Brown, with Embiid, with Simmons, it's like this seems like it's it. And I think depending on how they lose, maybe if they make it to the conference finals and lose in Game 7 or something, everything's okay. But I think if they lose, particularly in rounds 1 or 2, we're about to see a huge shakeup. So I think Philly, I agree. Philly is really tons of pressure there. If I was a Philly fan, I would be worried. And then I'll just say Pacers because I included them, but. Pacers fans, I think, have reasons to be worried, but if I'm them, honestly, I'm just waiting for a training camp when I can have Brogdon and Oladipo because you waited for Oladipo to come back the whole year, and now there's rumors that Brogdon's out for the season. That's kind of just like, come on. Like, what are you supposed to do with that,
Yeah,
I think it's less existential than the Sixers, where, as you said, this is supposed to be the culmination of the process, and then you have sort of potentially nothing to show for it, given injuries and Al Horford's not really doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. I mean, it's got to be deeply depressing to be a Sixers fan.
Okay, on that note, Jason, here's another question for you.
Okay.
Do you think LeBron James this year, we already kind of mentioned how magical this year's been for him, is he closing the gap on Giannis as MVP? Like, it seemed like Giannis and Harden were jockeying for a bit, and then kind of like Giannis took off. And then it was like one of those years where, yep, we all know who the MVP is. Let's play it out. Do you think we're still there, or is LeBron kind of gotten closer?
I think for James, what we're seeing with him with year 17, we're definitely taking it for granted. And like to be where he is at his age, still the most dominant force in NBA, like it's crazy. But he also has AD by his side. When we see the Bucks, and recently without Giannis, like I said before, they aren't really that good. So this award is for the entirety of the season, and Giannis has made the Bucks the number one team from the jump. And throughout the season, he hasn't even played that long in each game. I think they're playing like averaging 33 minutes per game, something like that. It's been crazy. So at the end, I honestly think it's going to be Giannis because it should be thinking about the entire season, not just like the end of it or the beginning or the middle.
Yeah, I very much agree. And as I was writing this question, I was kind of thinking, I feel like maybe the more appropriate question is, how close are Harden and LeBron?
And that's a good question, yeah.
That might be a bit fair, but because I think LeBron, for me anyways, has passed Harden, but it's not like a wild gap. I think if Houston doesn't finish with a home court record, that really kind of, for me, ends the Harden's candidacy for MVP. But Paul, where are you at with this question? Do you think LeBron is having? Do you think it's comparable to Giannis or not really?
At the risk of just parroting what Jason said, I agree. I think that if I was to pick one person, to win a basketball game single-handedly, I would have, for the past 17 years, I would have picked LeBron James.
Yeah, for sure.
Including this year, but I think that the overall picture, it's Giannis, and sort of ironically, this always happens where you see how the team functions without that person.
Right.
And it's kind of an irony, because if a great player is injured for the entire season, they're not going to get, and their team tanks, they're not going to get MVP, because they're like, well, clearly they were the most valuable person, because
Klay Thompson, MVP.
Yeah, exactly. But we sort of see that in this way with Giannis, and I think it's Giannis. I mean, by the time the finals or whatever roll around, we might look at this differently, but it's a regular season award, so it's Giannis. I mean, LeBron is having an unbelievable season and an unbelievable past 5 weeks or whatever. But
man, he's the washed king, Paul. I'm just kidding. I never rolled with the wash king thing. I'm still a witness guy, because I just feel like when LeBron's said and done, I don't want to be one of the people who was like, well, he wasn't that good. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to be like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was wonderful. He was insanely good.
We definitely take him for granted, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, I'm going to stick with you. So who's a non-Raptor, like a player? Who's someone else in the league right now who you just find yourself kind of rooting for whatever reason?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that in a weird way, guys, I'm rooting for Chris Paul. I like.
He was on my list.
Good answer.
This is It is.
It's crazy. 35. Yeah.
Talk about the old guy still got it, and sort
He
of.
definitely has that dad bod going on too. I love it.
Totally.
He does, but he's contributing so well, and he's playing so well, and he was sort of written off as like ballast on that trade, right? As to kind of like balance the books, and he's playing so well, and I mean, maybe that's just me being a washed individual myself.
No, it's like a great story.
But it's such a great story, and he's always been just a blast to watch.
Man, when
I think, yeah.
When he was guarding Tatum at the end of that Boston game, it was just such a he got game moment where it was like, Tatum, you're so good, but you can't beat your dad. It was like one of those moments where it's like, no, dad still got it, man.
Yeah. So yes, it's Chris Paul for me.
Jason, are you also Chris Paul? Is there someone else?
Oh man, that's such a good answer, man.
Yeah.
I can't even So personally, I was gonna go with Kemba because I've always loved Kemba.
Oh, I like that.
His day in Charlotte, and now that he's finally gotten a chance to play at a good team, and I feel like he's a better fit for Boston than Kyrie. I would go with Kemba. But I mean that Chris Paul, and with Chris Paul. He reminds you so much of Lowry, right? They're basically not only because they're the same type of body, really, but they also have the same smarts and the same minds. And like Paul, you hit it right on the head, man. Like if you put the two and two together, they do so many things. I'm talking about Lowry and Paul. They do so many things on the court that is not recorded on the stat sheets, and they just do make winning plays. Chris Paul is such a good answer, Paul. I'm gonna piggyback on you, brother.
Nice. Okay. So I basically wrote down 3 names, just in case you guys said the same names, and Chris Paul was on there. So mine was actually a similar, it's like a similar answer to Kemba, except mine is Mike Conley. I just feel like he got the Marc Gasol treatment from Memphis, except what happened to him was he went to Utah and just ruined all of their chemistry and somehow was less valuable than Joe Ingles. I don't know what exactly happened there. And, Quinn Snyder's a good coach. So I was one of those people that I'm like, oh man, Utah, Denver, they're going to be so good. And yeah, just watching Utah and Mike Conley struggle so much, I just felt for the guy. It was like, man, this was your go get a ring shot kind of, and you went to a place and you've actually made it worse. But
remember when Lowry and Mike Conley were supposed to be traded for each other this year, or was it last year?
That was last year. That was
last year.
That was because the whole Marc Gasol thing. We were entertaining the idea of a crazy blockbuster where we bring Mike and Mark together on our squad.
Right.
And I was actually saying today that Lowry came out publicly and said, I don't want him to be traded from the Raptors, and I love playing in Toronto, which for me was a signal of whoa, what's going on? And also, I love that Kyle loves us. But yeah. So and then the other player I just threw in there. Oh, and just to finish my Conley point, I think he has turned it around. I don't think he's having quite the Gasol effect. I don't think he will, but it seems like he's a plus now. And watching him against the Raptors, he only went 4 for 12, but it seems like he's not totally out of sorts. So I wish success for him. And then the other guy I just threw in for bonus. He'll have lots of time to do well, but I must say I'm fully just intoxicated by watching him. It's Zion. I get it. He's probably not a better rookie than Luka or whatever, but there's something about watching Zion. It's just rare to see someone physically impose themselves that easily.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I think the Pelicans are what, 9th or 10th or something like that?
They're 9th. They're right behind Memphis now.
Cool. So because I know that we were just talking about the MVP race. So I'm wondering if because Ja has been playing so well throughout the entire year, but they're only 8th place, if the Pelicans surpass that and they make it to the 8th place, does Zion be considered as Rookie of the Year?
For me, it's actually a yes, and I feel like that kind of goes against the way I usually think, because I think, availability does matter. But at the same time, I just think the pure drama of like, if they have to beat if they surpass Memphis to make the playoffs, particularly, and Zion's like this big a part of it, then I think I'm just a yes because of the storyline.
Interesting.
What about you, Paul?
I wouldn't be mad at that. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad if that played out, and also to come off of an injury like that, and just be so spectacular.
I think it also depends on Ja.
Fun to watch. Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this baby up with some quickish questions. Does that sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay, Maddie, would you give me that quickish question sting?
Quickish Questions!
Matt, you got to give me your Spotify list, bro. This is crazy.
Yeah, Matt's hype. Like, Matt, if you
Spotify.
trust me, like when Matt Duncan is performing at Rebel, like downtown, I can't even tell you. It's just wild. Like there's so many people there. Like I'd say like 40, 50. You know what I mean? Like that place is packed. Like
Yeah. I'll
Like
get
across
bottle
between-
service for that.
yeah,
for
get
sure.
bottle service if Matt's DJing, because just cause, right? Like,
Oh God.
Matt, is it fair for me to tell the world that you're actually like a nasty DJ?
Well, you know what? Go right ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
must.
that's Matt's version of shut the hell up, Fred. Okay, let's do some quickish questions. Jason, Paul, Matt, you got to answer as quick as you can. No phoning a friend. I'm gonna try and get through the question and somehow make it intelligible. Are you both ready?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's go. Jason, Paul, and Matt. So here we go. Jason, will the Bucks get 70 wins?
No.
Paul, do your
They
best.
will not.
Oh no, sorry, Paul. Paul, it's a new question, but fair
New
enough.
question. Forget it.
That's amazing. Yeah, I should probably explain it a bit more. Okay, Paul. Do your best impression of your favorite Herbie Kuhn over pronunciation of a non-American player, name or the same of someone else on the podcast. My favorites are Dennis Schroeder and Dario Saric, and I would also just caution you to not be racist here.
I mean, you can caution all you want. I don't know. I don't understand it.
You can caution all you want.
But I love the way he pronounces Mike Budenholzer's name. He's like Mike Budenholzer. Like he's very particular about it.
Okay, that's a good one.
a good one.
The coaching pronunciations, you got to keep an eye out for those. Like,
He's very deliberate about
honestly, if you hear like in arena people try and pronounce Sergio Scoriolio, or I just messed up, okay? And then Nate Bjorken, they basically see his last name and panic. It's a good time, and they both have to be announced every game. Okay, Matt.
I was at the Bucks game, and Herbie was trying to say DiVincenzo like 8 different times. It was wonderful.
Yeah, he probably like gets amped up for the first part too. He's like Dante, and then he gets scared.
And then David Chisenzo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
I ruined the flow of quickish questions, but here we go. Matt,
Yes.
do the past 2 seasons for the Raptors, championship followed by success despite injuries, represent the best 2 seasons of team basketball in the history of the NBA?
Wow, what a deep and heavy question for me to answer. I can't say that that's absolutely true, but I'm going to put them in the top 5. How about that?
Love it.
Nice.
Jason, who is the biggest germaphobe in the league?
And it's definitely not Rajon Rondo because he spat on Chris Paul, I think.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Shoot, I don't know. I'd probably say Zion. Do you guys remember when JaVale McGee asked for Zion's jersey? Zion gave him the jersey and then walked off.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't do any jersey exchange. He's just like, here, bro.
He's like, I don't like others
so
people's
good.
sweat.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, bro. You can go sell this, McGee. We're good.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Okay, Paul, are OG and Serge the best professional wrestling tag team that has never been?
Absolutely, yeah. They're like Tugboat and Hurricane, or what was the guy? What was the other one?
Tugboat and Hurricane.
Tugboat. Who's the other one? Anyway, they were called the Natural Disasters. Absolutely, yeah. I want to see
Love
them at
it.
SummerSlam this year.
Okay, Matt. Are the Bucks this bad without Giannis, or do they just need more practice?
Yeah, I think that what they should do is they should have one practice with Giannis and one practice without Giannis. Like, that's what they should be doing all the time, because they definitely are a different team without him. And I know that's a lot of pressure on Giannis, but that's just the way it works sometimes.
Okay, Jason. Describe what Rudy Gobert's brand of vigilante justice looks like.
He's probably crying somewhere.
Yeah, hard cry.
And throwing his tears.
I like the weaponization of tears. That's cool. Yeah, it's a bit of.
He's got nothing. He's got nothing else. He's a soft big man.
I like that. He's like the Jubilee of X-Men. People are like, just harness your damn powers already. Okay, Paul. Last question of the pod here. Which Raptor named Norman Powell is actually Michael Jordan?
Pascal Siakam. And also, it's Earthquake and Typhoon were the names of the natural disasters. I just looked it up.
Oh man, I like Tugboat and the other one better.
Hurricane.
Tugboat was the wrestler. Tugboat was the wrestler.
I just
He
like
was not a
Tugboat
member
and
of the Natural
Hurricane.
Disasters.
They don't seem to
Yeah.
belong with one another. It's great.
Well, neither do Typhoon and Earthquake. Yet
sure.
they were yet they were a tag team.
Well, guys, that's the pod. Thank you so much, both of you, for doing it. Jason, I'll start with you. I mean, that's a wrap podcast, but where can people find it? How can they follow you guys?
Sure. I mean, you can find all of us on That's a Rap Pod on Twitter. You can find, you can email us at That's a Rap Podcast on gmail.com. And if you are looking for us on all your podcatchers like Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and all that, and make sure you search up Raptors HQ, because that's our home base.
Awesome. Paul, what's going on? I don't know if you want to plug Talking Terry. Like, I don't know
Talking
if
Terry,
Terry's
the Terrence Malick,
hibernating.
The only Terrence Malick podcast, Talking Terry. Also, you can check out some of my writing on CBC Comedy. And I just want to do a follow-up, if we have a second, for
Sure.
the last time I was on the pod, we speculated on who the worst teams on the NBA, who are going to have the worst records this season.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Did anyone say OKC?
Nobody said the Warriors. That's for sure.
Wow.
I said the Hornets. Who the Hornets are making the Warriors look like the 2016 Warriors at the moment, because anyway, I think Freddie, you said Cleveland, which was a good pick, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm content with that. I feel bad for Cleveland, but I don't see any good times ahead for them.
No.
But yeah, that's the pod. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Rate, subscribe, review, tell people about our podcast, rock our toques, all that good stuff. And Matt, is there anything you want to leave the people with, or what?
Oh wow! Just keep listening to the pod and rating and reviewing. That's great too. And don't forget about our Patreon. And don't be afraid to go back, because the Confederacy Dunks Basketball Podcast, it is a time capsule. And we have, you can go back to season 3 of our show and relive the Biombo season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still not a foul.
Still not a foul.
Still not a foul.
I love it. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. And I'll see y'all later. Thanks for doing the pod.
Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.